Michelob Ultra Tuscan Orange Grapefruit. My God, America is imploding.
Greetings. What is up, my bitches? It is Fanzone, and it is a title match, and I'm back. And I have no idea what to do with my hands. What we've got today is one that y'all are going to want to fucking watch. You've been waiting for it. Tim, the Hulk Brzakala, putting the belt back on the line again. He's taken on someone that he's played in trivia, and this guy making a tear in the singles division, Nick the Name TWOHIG. But before we do that, before we get to talking to those lovely individuals, I'll talk to some other lovely individuals who are helping me out today. By the way, I am Kaleb Koho, and this is Doug Cassel. Doug, thank you so much for being here. I'm super happy for that. That we have you back judging. What do you think about the match today?
This is going to be, as they like to say in the business of debate, a slobber knocker of a match. I'm super excited. Nick and Tim both have really kind of come into their own as debaters throughout this entire year, and it's exciting to see them, just expand and grow their knowledge and see what else they can come up with debate wise. And it's going to be fun because this is kind of a civil war, so it's going to be fun to see them debate each other. That's, I think, what I'm most excited for.
I wonder if Tim is tired of fighting people that he's been teammates with. I think the last three have been him fighting his teammates. Speaking of teammates, go over to my faction mate, my buddy, my pal, mi amigo, Kaleb the Little Boatman. How you doing, Boat?
I agree with Doug. This will be a slobber knocker. Slobs will be knocked all over. This is going to be a really good match.
When I'm in the building, shit goes sideways. We're going to go ahead. We will start to have an air of professionalism. I'm sorry. We're going to bring in the challenger first. Nick, the Name TWOHIG. Nick, you made it. You've had a great season and a great run through the rookie bracket, and you are here. How do you feel that you've made it to the big game, and how do you feel about fighting Tim?
I was supposed to lose to Amaru, and then I was supposed to lose to Barr, and then I was supposed to lose to Brian. So, shocked is the answer. I'm excited to be here. Didn't think I would get this far, hence my opening of all the people I should have lost to previously. But yeah, no, I'm excited to be here. A little peek behind the curtain. Tim and I often debate some things just for fun in our natural conversations, and not many of those do I win. So good times will be had here tonight.
Absolutely, and with that, we'll bring in the champion, the defending reigning champion of the world, Tim the Hulk Brzakala. How you doing, Tim?
Did you say tramp?
I said champion. Did I say champion? Champion.
It sounds like you called me tramp. I'm doing
Speech
well.
impediments suck.
Can we call the belt the champ stamp now?
No.
Yes.
No.
Yeah.
No, this will be fun. I said this when I played Koho. I only wanted to win and defend once. I did that when I beat Koho, and then I played Robert again earlier this year in the final match of that thing that we don't say anymore. And now I'm here. I said it, Fanzone. I don't do the normal movies well, so I'm not gonna win. But if I do, I'll be happy. But if I don't, I've said it already. I've done what I've come to do in debate. Fun fact, Nick TWOHIG is actually the only person to ever beat me in a debate match. Every other debate I've ever played, I have won. It wasn't in Multiplex. It was in some other godforsaken place. But that is a true statement.
Canada?
Yes. So who knows? Maybe the curse will be real, and we'll find out today.
Well, we are going to find out. I think this is going to be an absolute fun time of a debate. But we'll go ahead and throw our judges backstage as we get to the first question of this lovely debate. I am stalling because I lost my place. Your first question that we're doing was drafted by the champ himself in the category of 2010s by a man named Marty Scorsese. You may know him from that Zoom call picture on De Palma's Instagram.
Yeah.
Where he looks high out of his mind. But the question we have presented to you today is, what is the best performance in a 2010's Martin Scorsese film. A lot to digest, a lot to think about. Tim, you drafted this category, so I believe Nicholas Tuig will be going first.
I will go first.
You're going first, right? That's how it works. I forget every time. I'll walk them back. Tim Brzakala, you drafted this category, so you, the champion, will be going first. 1 minute for your opening time begins when you start talking.
2010's Martin Scorsese has a lot of like big performances, a lot of loud performances that I think a lot of people misconstrue as being good performances, whether it's in something like Hugo or Wolf of Wall Street. But one of the best performance from a 2010 Scorsese movie is by far Andrew Garfield in Silence. And the reason I say that is Andrew Garfield, as a character, as Father Rodriguez, he has every range of emotion humanly possible spread throughout. I cut out there for a second.
Cut out.
It's fine. I'll keep going. I didn't say anything. He has every range of emotion possible throughout this movie. Big emotional moments, soft, quiet moments, humorous moments, loving moments, and all. He leads the entire film. He runs the entire film through this performance. Some might say the movie is meh. I think the movie is great, and I think it's anchored by this great performance. It's not this huge in-your-face performance, which kind of lends it to being the best. I think it's by far and away the best one of the 2010s.
All right. Mr. Tuig, what is the best performance in a 2010's Martin Scorsese film? 1 minute time begins when you start talking.
Well, unfortunately, Shark Tale came out in 2004. So my pick for the best 2010's Martin Scorsese performance is, as slightly jabbed at by Tim, it's Leo DiCaprio in The Wolf of Wall Street. I agree. The question is not which movie is better, which movie is more well-received, but these are two movies that sort of rely on the performance of the main character with great supporting characters around them. Now, I think something important to make a distinction of is Wolf of Wall Street's a 3-hour movie that feels like a breeze. It feels like 90 minutes. It's a good movie, and it's because it's on the back of Leo DiCaprio, whereas Silence feels like a 6-hour movie that's really only 2.5 because Andrew Garfield's performance just really isn't all that interesting. And you say there's range of emotions was talked about. I'm going to go into my argument on how I don't really think that's totally the case. I think he actually sort of overplays many moments, and it has effects on moments later in the film. But Leo DiCaprio's performance is loud. It is in your face. But the problem is, or the best part of it is, it's so out of control, but you realize Leo's in control the whole time, and that's the hardest part about it.
Time. All right. This is going to be a good one. Leo DiCaprio versus Andrew Garfield. Guys, 5 minutes, freeform. Time begins. When I disappear, have that.
No, I think there is a wide range. There's you say that he overacts these moments. I don't think that's true at all. The character and the situation that he's in demands large moments from time to time. Even in the quiet moments of Wolf of Wall Street, Leo is big. And the other thing that is frustrating about it is the movie is very clever and very funny. And I think that rubs off on people remembering the performance the wrong way. If you go back and actually look at the movie, it's a lot of him sitting there, like nodding at the camera, and then a voiceover just kind of doing the performance for him when it's just him backstage. I know there's also voiceover work in Silence that Andrew Garfield does, but there's more physical acting being done by Andrew Garfield in Silence, whereas Wolf of Wall Street is from beginning to end Leo at the same pace. He is as crazy in the beginning as he is at the end. It is there's no flow to the performance at all, whereas Andrew Garfield has a very big incline throughout the entire movie to the end when you actually get to the finale of the film.
So I strongly disagree. One, Leo's performance doesn't call for that. It doesn't call to have like sort of a character arc or a character growth. He is playing the same person. But even in that, there are moments where he makes you believe that he's like this rational businessman and not this crazy drug addict. The moment when he first starts working on Wall Street with Matthew McConaughey, he looks like he acts like a respectable person, bright-eyed person who wants to get into the business. When he meets with the FBI agent on his boat, he actually plays the part of a respectable businessman who's just trying to run his business, and he makes you believe that. And then he ends that scene with "Get the fuck off my boat," because he goes back to Jordan Belfort, who is this large personality of a character. So you keep saying these things that like he's large and in your face, but that's what the character calls for. That's what the tone of the movie calls for. Andrew Garfield really is the same character. Like, he doesn't have this arc you're talking about from the first scene he's in. From the first scene he's in, he's overacting with his eyes. And I'm gonna tell everyone something that's gonna annoy the crap out of you if you watch another Andrew Garfield performance. His mouth is open the whole movie. He sits there and he thinks everything is.
I think
it's bad. I don't like it.
I completely disagree. I think a part of you said that it doesn't matter, like the character arc doesn't matter. It totally matters. If the character arc is a huge part of a performance, and if at the beginning of The Wolf of Wall Street, Jordan Belfort is a trying to get into this business, being a respectable guy, and slowly is supposed to be slowly turning into a crazy person, but you don't get that with the performance because it's at 110 the whole time. You don't get that character arc. Whereas with Andrew Garfield, he is not the same person he is at the beginning to the end, and that shows through the performance. He's a man who's dedicated to his religion, to the cause, to his mission, to go into this foreign country and save the soul of this other. And when and by the end of the movie, he is a broken man who is forced to live in this country as this person he doesn't want to be, can't be himself. And you see that through the performance. There are many scenes where you see him break and come back. Whereas again, I don't think Leo's bad in The Wolf of Wall Street. It's just that from beginning to end, there's no change at all. There are changes in other characters, like Margot Robbie, or even I'm totally blanking on his name, but his dad, Rob Reiner. There are characters who have changes throughout the movie. His character changes, but you don't get that through the performance.
That's not the point. So you said something a little incorrect. Is his character supposed to gradually grow into that? He's not. He's thrown headfirst into Wall Street, and he's supposed to adapt to that. So that's why his character becomes that right away. That's why his character stays the same character the whole way, but he has different moments. He has moments when he's on Quaaludes. Like, that is one of the craziest scenes because he has to act completely out of control, but Leo's in control the whole time. He has to act when he steals his daughter and drives his car into the thing at the end. Like, that's a really dramatic, tender moment that you're not expecting because you've grown to hate this character and also love this character the whole time. And here's another layer, comedy. He's got to be comedic throughout the whole thing. That's difficult. Andrew Garfield overacts from the beginning, even in his narration, his narration of like prayers and stuff. He's so overdramatic. His Portuguese accent flows in and out. It's really not consistent the whole movie, to the point where he's so overdramatic that when Garupe dies, I don't even feel as connected to it because I was like, he was this bright-eyed and mouth wide open person at the beginning of the movie. And he
all right, free pharmacy. All right, so we'll go ahead. We'll bounce over to Mr. Twohig. 1 minute for your closing. When you start.
A performance does not always call for a character to go through an arc. Sometimes a performance calls for a character to be a character, and the character in Jordan Belfort is the same, but he has to act differently with different people in the movie, and it becomes that. He does things so wild and outrageous that it shouldn't work on film, but it does because Leo's performance makes us believe it. He has moments of comedy, which is hard to interject when you're already giving a great performance. The problem with Andrew Garfield, he's a very similar character the whole way through. He's supposed to be growing. He's supposed to be having this arc where he like gives up his faith at the end, but he really doesn't because he's holding the cross at the end. But the problem is you don't believe it because the second he sits down and they go, Father Ferreira he's given up his thing. He's like, what? How? He's being outacted by Adam Driver. He's being outacted by the guy who plays Kijichiro. It's not even the best Andrew Garfield performance of a religious person in that year. He was better in Hacksaw Ridge, and I know that's not the question, but the fact is, when you look at these other things and you compare it to the performance of Andrew Garfield, it brings it down a whole lot more. When there's all those great performances you're talking about in Wolf of Wall Street, and Leo's still the standout, that's the better performance.
All right, we go over to Tim Brzakala. 1 minute for your closing. Time begins where you start talking.
I don't think Leo is the standout of Wolf of Wall Street. If I had to pick a standout from the movie, it would be Margot Robbie, hands down, coming out and crushing it. The other thing, too, about you mentioned the Quaaludes scene, him having to act through that. That's not him acting. That's Martin Scorsese being a fucking amazing director and knowing how to shoot this and knowing how to shoot that scene. That is Leo standing in a booth recording dialogue and then rolling down a set of stairs. That's not a performance. I also want to go back and say my argument isn't resting on the fact that the character arc is the whole thing. It's a thought that you brought up that I mentioned, and you kind of stuck to it. And also, you mentioned Hacksaw Ridge. You're right. That's not a Scorsese movie. That's not the point. If we're going to throw that way, there's a better 2010s Leonardo DiCaprio Martin Scorsese performance, and that's called Shutter Island. He does more in Shutter Island as far as a performance goes than in Wolf of Wall Street. Andrew Garfield has this full character arc and acts it beautifully in
Times. All right. That. Whew. All right, what a fight here, folks. All right.
Good job, buddy.
I'm not looking forward to this.
All right, so we're gonna write down who we're voting for, and make our judges' tabulation.
I forgot that we do this now.
I did too, but I was also doing the time. All right.
So, wait, hold on, my pen's dying.
Okay.
Also, I'm not doing any more championship match. Just stressful. It's too stressful. It's too stressful.
Question one, Doug.
I will give my answer first once Boatman's in writing. I'm voting for Tim Brzakala. I think Tim throughout the fight was able to kind of keep pace with the Garfield jabs, but the closing I think is what really sold me and brought his whole argument home by pointing out, using kind of some of Nick's own arguments against him, like bringing up the Shutter Island, which ties to Scorsese, which kind of trumped the Hacksaw Ridge one. So yeah, I'm gonna go with Tim. Doug.
I actually went with Nick. I think Nick gave a better argument to. So a lot of my issues, they were kind of going back and forth towards the center of the argument, and it came down to, Nick talking about the performance, how you have a list of cast, and I get Tim bringing that Margot Robbie came out and crushed it in the closing, but there wasn't enough there to ping it why it wasn't the best. But Nick kind of pinged Tim on why he wasn't the best. He was outperformed by actors because of this. That's why I thought Nick.
Fair. All right, Boatman, you are the tiebreaker.
I hate that it comes down to me, but I'm giving it to Tim. For me, it was a very, very close fight, but Tim really eked it out there in the closing with the Quaalude scene argument about how really the whole performance is more because Martin Scorsese just directs it so well rather than the actual performance itself.
All right, so we are back in round number 2. 1-0 Tim the Hulk Brzakala, and your question, drafted from the category of sci-fi fantasy by one Nicholas TWOHIG, is what classic sci-fi film would be best served by a modern remake or reboot? So, bit of a wordy one, bit of a thought-provoking one. TWOHIG, you started. You are starting. 1 minute for your opening. Time begins when you start talking.
Okay, the theme of today is we hate everything, so let's remake it. But the movie I picked that I think should be remade a classic sci-fi film is a 1956 movie called Forbidden Planet. Now, before I get into the movie, I think it's important that we talk about why would we remake a classic sci-fi film. And the reason is because it has a good concept with cool ideas that was sort of dated at the time, that didn't have the technology it needed to make the story come to life in ways that it could today. Now, keeping that in mind, I think Forbidden Planet's an excellent candidate because it has a very cool concept of a man going to another planet where there is a native race, a super intelligent native race that has invented a machine that basically doubles intelligence. It increases intelligence in human beings or in creatures in general. And the coolest part about this is the theme of what absolute power does. And absolute power corrupts absolutely. And I'll get more into those themes in the main
time. All right. The Forbidden Planet. Tim, 1 minute for your opening. Time begins when you start talking.
Yeah, I went a couple years earlier. I went 1954's Creature from the Black Lagoon is my choice. A little bit of a different sci-fi. Mine's more of like... I keep cutting out. Mine is like a little bit more on Earth sci-fi. Nick chose the big, fantastical, out in space sci-fi. That's fine and dandy. I'll get into why that's dumb in the full thing. But Creature from the Black Lagoon is an amazing concept. You have a group of people that are out on a voyage, stuck on a boat in an isolated spot, looking for something. And they come across this creature, this gill man that's swimming around and starts taking out their crew. I think if this movie was remade today, and why it would be best served today is because of where horror is at right now. You could do something like Lee Winnell directing a remake of this style of The Invisible Man. I think that serves today way better than another, oh, look, we're in space with ships and stuff. And we'll get into it.
Time. All right, folks, 5 minutes, main round debate. How about
it's not pitch the best horror movie, and I get that like movies can be multiple things at one time, but the point of sci-fi is to explore fantastical concepts that we have not seen before. It's science fiction. The Creature from the Black Lagoon is basically Friday the 13th, Halloween, Jaws. It's a movie where people are stuck and something starts to kill them. I don't understand what the sci-fi element that adds to this movie is, whereas Forbidden Planet, not Fantastic Planet. You didn't say fantastic. You said the word fantastic, and I was like, oh, Fantastic Planet. Forbidden Planet.
I might have messed up. Sorry.
Forbidden Planet has a lot of cool concepts that a director can take, that a visual artist can take and create from the ground up, and it would look so much better today than it did in 1956.
I think that whole thing you just said is completely void, because you literally said the idea of sci-fi is to do things we haven't done before, and a remake in general is remaking something you've done before. That being said, Forbidden Planet's actually a really good movie. I had never seen it. I purchased it. I watched it. It's awesome. The visuals, believe it or not, they really do, I think, hold up. There are really good visuals in this movie. The ideas, the story in here is really interesting because it also, like Creature from the Black Lagoon, is a you were talking about the giant race and everything. You don't see those people in the movie. It has like 5 characters in the movie, and that's it. So it's also an isolated thing. It's a nice mystery and everything. That movie holds up today. We don't need a remake that would just get lost in the shuffle with the Blade Runner 2049s and the Guardian 2s. Like, we don't need another one of those. Whereas Creature from the Black Lagoon is not like Friday the 13th or whatever, because there you can have this commentary on I'm losing my train, on society and on nature within the film itself. And the thing is, that movie didn't do its story and characters and ideas justice, which is why it should be remade and would be best served today. Forbidden Planet already did that job. It doesn't need to be remade.
You named movies that are good. Blade Runner 2049 is good. The Guardians franchise overall, maybe 2, not so much. But I don't understand the pick of Creature from the Black Lagoon. Like, what would be updated about it? What is the point of doing a remake? I didn't say the point of doing a remake is to do things we haven't seen before. I said the point of doing a sci-fi remake is to do something that we can't experience in real life. Now, the Creature from the Black Lagoon, it's just, like, what's the point of it? It's a gill man. It's nothing fantastic. It's nothing that updated effects and updated visuals and updated directing would have an effect on. It's just another horror movie with people stuck in one place. Forbidden Planet, those are things you can explore. Just because you don't see the race in the beginning doesn't mean there can't be visuals of that race. There's a whole scene where he vaporizes a tiger, and there's a whole scene where he uses the machine to double his intelligence. And the whole point of the movie, it's an isolated story, but it has a point. The point of the movie is to show that man is not ready for this kind of power that has developed on this forbidden planet. That's why it's forbidden. We go to see a human journey to this forbidden planet and see what's updated. And the person who's been there realizes that humanity's not ready for this. And so these are both, mine has a concept. Mine has a theme. I don't understand the theme of nature because people are stuck on a boat and they start getting killed.
No, there's environmental like things you can do with the story just by being out in that location. There's things that you can do. But again, you're looking at science fiction as it needs to be in space, Star Wars, like that's what you're pitching. And Forbidden Planet already did its thing. The question is, what would be best served by modern? And the visuals and the look of Creature from the Black Lagoon from 1954 was the concept of that movie was not best served in. I cut out again. It was not best served in 1954. It would be better served today because you could have updated visuals, better directing, better storytelling, all those things that you said wouldn't work for it. I think absolutely would. The same way that The Invisible Man, a sci-fi film, when you cut it down, was updated today and made ultimately way better. Forbidden Planet already is a fantastic movie that led the way for things like Star Wars and Guardians of the Galaxy and Blade Runner. It doesn't need to be remade. It wouldn't be better served today because it's already perfect the way it is, whereas Creature from the Black Lagoon has room to improve.
It led the way and nobody knows about it. That's why it needs to be remade. People have not seen it. Its visuals do not hold up. It's clearly a 1956 movie. It's got a great concept and it could use an update.
All right, so we are going to go to closings, starting with Tim Brzakala. 1 minute. Time begins when you start talking.
Forbidden Planet's visuals do hold up, and that's just going to be a back and forth that we're going to have. I think it does. He doesn't think it is. That's fine and dandy. But when you get down to it, a remake of Forbidden Planet would just be that. Updated visuals, and probably a version of the story that doesn't hit on its ideas as well as the original did. Creature from the Black Lagoon, it may just be a horror kill 'em up movie. I think it could be more than that, which is why it would be best served as a remake today. I think with updated visuals and with a better director, better look of the movie, like a Lee Winnell Invisible Man style movie, it could be better served today. Forbidden Planet already did its purpose. There's no reason to be remade and get lost in the shuffle of all the other sci-fi coming out today. There's no reason to redo it. It already did its purpose. Creature from the Black Lagoon has room to improve.
All right, we will go over to Nick Twohig. 1 minute. Time begins when you start talking.
Nothing would be updated from Creature from the Black Lagoon. All you get is the monster looks a little bit better. But the fact is you just have another cheap horror movie with a bunch of jump scares that ultimately mean nothing at the end. Those are literally a dime a dozen. We don't need to see more of those. There's no sci-fi concept that can be updated to today. Unlike Forbidden Planet, where you have that machine that doubles intelligence, it creates monsters from your subconscious. Those are the coolest things you could see visually on screen. That's the whole point of remaking a sci-fi film, is taking a great concept that is dated by its time. You said it yourself. It led the way for other great movies. That's how great of a concept it is, that it was bettered upon by Star Wars, by things like that. That's why no one knows of the original movie. And the best thing that could serve it is taking the story, bringing it to today where we have today's visuals. We could see the Forbidden Planet like we couldn't see back then. It's not just people stuck in a cave. We get to see the race of the Krell. We get to see the pets that Altera has. We get to see all of these cool things, which is the whole point of remaking a science fiction film. There's nothing science fiction about the Creature from the Black Lagoon other than we're not sure the creature actually exists.
Time. All right. That was a good fight. I'm
sweating.
Having a good time.
Yeah.
All right. Everyone got your votes in. We're going to start with Boatman.
I haven't written it down.
God damn it.
The last time you put us on.
I'm sorry I don't have prejudged notions before the closing arguments.
Wow.
That was a good shot. Okay.
All right.
I didn't know I was the one debating. All right, but what's your who are you leaning away?
I'm giving it to TWOHIG. I think both competitors took an interesting approach towards the movie Forbidden Planet. As someone who has seen Forbidden Planet, I think that movie's a steaming pile of dog crap, but that's neither here nor there. That wasn't part of the argument. But anyway, regardless of the arguments, I think Tim actually pitched a very interesting concept towards what a Forbidden Planet remake could look like.
All right. I didn't know Tim was arguing for Forbidden Planet.
We knew he meant Nick.
We know what he meant.
Yeah.
I do this.
Doug, where are you leaning away?
I actually went the opposite way again. I went with Tim because Tim, the main argument against Tim was that it's just going to be a smash 'em up, and Tim gave a very good argument of why it would not be a smash 'em up. It would be something that would be new and interesting and would take a kind of like a really cool approach via Invisible Man. I really like the pitch, so kind of like countered Nick's big argument.
This just proves once again We were split round 1. We're split round 2. These two deserve to be here. But I went with Nick. I think Nick was able to counter any attacks on Forbidden Planet as to why it wouldn't work. And why his deserved one more. He also had a lot of good shots on Creature that I don't think Tim quite countered. A lot of the slasher arguments, I didn't hear quite the perfect counter that I needed to hear to quite put that over. So I am going with Nick. So 1-1 as we get to the third question of this prepped round of 8, which was selected by one Timothy Bartholomew Brzakala, which comes in the category of the Middle Earth, the Earth in the middle. If they were to remake the Lord of the Rings trilogy today, who should play Aragorn? I think this is going to be an intriguing fight. Mr. Brzakala, you pick the question. You will go first. Time begins when you start talking.
Like Nick said in the last question, apparently we just hate everything today. We're remaking everything. 2 questions in a row about remakes. Cool. That being said, I think the part of Aragorn demands a very controlling, demanding presence while also being able to have those quiet moments, but have the big moments in battle. I went with Sterling K. Brown. I think that Sterling K. Brown would really do well in this role because he's proven that he can do the drama. He's proven that he can get big, muscular. If you've seen Waves, the man is jacked as fuck in that movie. And not necessarily Aragorn doesn't need to be jacked as fuck, but Sterling K. Brown can clearly have a big presence, which I think is needed of Aragorn, an older, wiser presence that I think is needed for the character.
Time. I would like the judges to know, pandering, the movie Waves was from. No, kidding.
It is in my notes.
It's there. No, I just saw Waves come up and I was like, yes. Anyway, Mr. Twohig, 1 minute before your opening time begins when you start talking.
All right, let's just do it. So I just talked about remaking sci-fi films. You're talking about remaking one of the greatest trilogies of all time right now. There is literally no point to doing that unless you're going to do something different. I agree. Sterling K. Brown would be great if you switched him out with Viggo Mortensen and what we're seeing right now. However, what I'm pitching is a sort of different take on the character of Aragorn, and I think it would be best played by Shia LaBeouf. What I would like to see is a character who, when you first meet him, you don't automatically know that guy's going to be the king one day. Because the fact is, that's the presence that Viggo Mortensen and Sterling K. Brown would give off. What I want to see is a younger Aragorn who maybe is very reluctant to join this journey. A younger, less wise Aragorn who will eventually one day be king. I think Shia LaBeouf has the range to play that young kid who is not ready to be king and doesn't want to be king, and eventually one day will be. Shia LaBeouf has that range. Sterling K. Brown would only be a very regal, kingly presence.
Time. All right. This is going to be a good one. Sterling K. Brown versus Shia LaBeouf. Have at it, guys.
The fight everyone has always
Shia LaBeouf, okay. Shia LaBeouf is a good actor. He's turned in some good performances recently, Honey Boy, Peanut Butter Falcon, but those are movies that he wrote or really cares about, produced. You throw Shia LaBeouf in a big budget movie and he doesn't give a shit. And I'm not saying that he wouldn't give a serviceable performance like in Indiana Jones, but he does not have the presence that the character needs. You say that you're pitching this different version, this younger version of Aragorn, then that's betraying the character altogether. Just because doing something different doesn't necessarily mean that it's a good thing. You take Aragorn, Sterling K. Brown is an actor who absolutely commands the screen every time he's on, but also can have those quiet moments, not ready for the journey. Like you said, Viggo Mortensen that already did that in the original one, the thing that you pitched with Shia LaBeouf where he might not want to join. That's literally the whole beginning part of Strider's journey. So I don't see Shia LaBeouf, this 35-year-old guy versus this 48-year-old Sterling K. Brown, who I think fits the character on paper way more than anything Shia LaBeouf could do.
So it doesn't betray the character if you're saying he did it already. My problem is, as great as Viggo Mortensen is he doesn't make that contrast all that great. the Aragorn we meet at the beginning is really not all that different from King Aragorn that we see at the end. What I want to see is a big, big difference. I want to see Aragorn as a younger kid who really doesn't want to be king, who's actually kind of a little bit annoying. It won't betray the character. It's a person who is supposed to be king who doesn't want to be king. It's literally Game of Thrones. I want to see, maybe he's annoyed that he has to help the hobbits. Maybe he doesn't like the hobbits at first. I want to see something different, because if we're remaking Lord of the Rings, why would I watch Sterling K. Brown do the same thing that Viggo Mortensen did? I don't want to watch that. I could just watch the Viggo Mortensen version.
I'm not saying he has to do the same thing. What I am saying, though, is that he at least has to have some sort of presence that fits the character. What you're pitching betrays everything about the source material, about the originals. A younger version who's annoyed with the hobbits, who's kind of annoyed, doesn't want to go on this journey. I don't think Shia LaBeouf could actually pull off what you're pitching. I think at this point in his career, he's beyond being the annoying little kid thing. But I just don't think that would be enjoyable for anyone. Why would we want to see that? What version of that story do we want to see the hero? Literally, the 3rd chapter is called The Return of the King. Why would you be invested in a character that doesn't have that? Whereas Sterling K. Brown, from beginning to middle to end, I'm not saying he needs to do exactly what Viggo Mortensen is doing, but he's proven that he has this regal presence. As you said, he is a king. He can become from that ranger to that king. And it doesn't have to be just like Viggo Mortensen, but it also doesn't have to be so wildly different just because we want to do something different.
So it's not even wildly different. What I'm pitching is really for the beginning of Fellowship. Because the moment that we realize, oh my God, this guy's going to be king one day, Shia LaBeouf, is when Frodo offers him the ring, and he declines it and says, no, you got to go on. That's when we know, okay, this guy has been kind of annoying. He's been really reluctant to do this, but when you look back at it, he's been a good leader. He's done the correct things, even if he wasn't happy about it. And this moment shows us that, okay, he's actually meant to lead this group, and he's actually meant to lead this kingdom. So I'm not just pitching an annoying character from beginning to end. I'm pitching a guy who starts out a little annoying because he doesn't want to do it, because he's kind of whiny, and he's on the younger side. But the fact is, by the end of the movie, he grows into his role as a king. Unlike Viggo Mortensen, unlike Sterling K. Brown would do, where they start at that role. The second we meet them, we're like, okay, these people are going to be kings one day. Whereas Shia LaBeouf, it's like, this dude's a ranger who clearly isn't fit to rule, but we grow to learn that he actually is by the time of Return of the King comes.
What is the point of changing this whole movie, this whole part 1 of this series? What is the point in changing him all to just end where it is already? If you had said to me, oh, he's this annoying guy, and then this, and then we actually shake it up, and he doesn't end up being the king or something, but you're literally pitching, oh, he's annoyed with the hobbits for the first entire movie, and then at the end, when we know what's going to happen, because we've seen the other movies, we've read the book, then we're supposed to be like, oh, okay, well, because that's what happens in the book, I guess I'm okay with it now. That doesn't make any sense. Or at least... But again, I just don't, that's not fun for the audience. Sterling K. Brown is a fresh, different performance. It would integrate something new into the series. Shia LaBeouf, you're just ruining it at that point.
All right. We will start with Mr. TWOHIG. 1 minute for your closing. Time begins when you start talking.
I haven't heard one thing different that Sterling K. Brown will bring to this performance. We're talking about remaking The Lord of the Rings. Obviously, it's a dumb idea in the first place, but if we're going to do it, if we're forced into this spot, we might as well make characters a little bit different so we can actually see a little bit of change throughout their arc. You say Shia LaBeouf doesn't care unless he wrote it. That's not true. Look at Fury. He's great in Fury. Shia LaBeouf has the presence to pull off the kingly speeches at the end, just like he has the presence to do what I'm pitching, which is to be that person who comes in and he's young and he's naive and he's annoyed at the hobbits create a fire and he's like, why are you doing that? That's so stupid. It's an inconvenience to him until you realize he refuses the ring. He's actually fit to be king. It's very Aquaman-y in the sense that, like, Arthur's supposed to be king of this, but he doesn't want to be. Just let me live my own life, man. Like, that's what I'm pitching. It's not betraying the character. It's a different take on the character. And just because we end up in the same way, it ends in a great way. What are you talking about? That's so much better, creating this new arc for this character that we know and love that still is good for the character than seeing the same thing over again.
All right. So we'll go over to Mr. Brzakala. 1 minute for your closing. Time begins when you start talking.
But you're not creating a new arc. You're creating a character. You're just changing the character to change the character, but the end of the arc is the same exact thing. And all you're talking about is part 1 of the series, part 1 of the 3. This character you're pitching doesn't sound like he's going to turn out to be this king that we would want to see. Sterling K. Brown can be absolutely different. I think if he was doing something that was more faithful to the book, because if you look at it, Viggo Mortensen, there's a lot of changes from the book in the original in this trilogy, and Viggo Mortensen, Sterling K. Brown could do something different if it's more in line with the book. We don't have to have Arwen and the love story and everything. We can just have Sterling K. Brown be this mentor, this guide for the hobbits, a strong presence, not a character who's sitting around. And when someone goes, oh, second breakfast, he goes, no, fuck your second breakfast. You don't get any apples. Bye-bye, because I'm Shia LaBeouf. Shia LaBeouf is a good actor, but not this character.
All right. What a fight. As you can tell, Lord of the Rings, something that should obviously be remade. We'll go ahead. We'll start with Doug on this one. Where are you leaning and why?
I went with Tim this round. I think Tim fought the argument so when I look down to it, I think Tim fought the question of making it something different and not diverting from the story, keeping that character at where the true heart of the character is, and kind of bashed Nick's, in the closing argument, bashed it really well to what would really probably happen if we got that kind of angsty kid at the beginning of the movie.
All right. Boatman.
I'm also giving it to Tim. For me, it was really Tim's offense on TWOHIG in the argument of TWOHIG's argument changing the arc of Aragorn to end up in the same place. That was the argument that really convinced me.
Fair. So Tim will get that point. I went for TWOHIG. I think TWOHIG sold me a lot more on how Shia LaBeouf's take would be different and still be true to the character. And all of Tim's shots, I think TWOHIG was able to counter. And I think that I didn't hear enough differences about Sterling K. Brown from Viggo until the very end. But I think this was a really well fought fight. So it is 2-1 Tim's favor. All right, so it is 2-1 Tim as we go to the 4th round question, drafted by Mr. TWOHIG in the category of the Trek to the Stars, Star Trek. And he specified the shittiest subset of Star Trek: The Next Generation. And your question that you were given was, besides Picard and Data, who is the best member of the Next Generation crew? I say it to piss you off, TWOHIG, every time.
Sure.
Data. I'll say it again. Data. All right. So, TWOHIG, you'll be going first. 1 minute. Time begins when you start.
Real quick before I start. Is that right? Didn't I start last time, or am I crazy?
Tim started last time.
Oh, okay. I guess I'm crazy then. Star Trek: The Next Generation. One of the most criminally underrated set of movies. They're not the greatest, not gonna lie, but they're filled with great characters. The greatest of them all is, of course, Lieutenant Commander Worf, or Captain Worf, if you'd like to go from the second movie. The fact is, Worf is a Klingon 60 years after Klingons were literal enemies of the Federation. He's a dude who's built bridges between enemies to make them become allies. He's a dude who's shown that in his rise in rank in the Federation, shown that anything can be done. The fact is, he's loyal, he's courageous, he's powerful, and he's so good that he gets promoted to captain in the second movie that he's in. There's a scene where, even if we look at Undiscovered Country, it's either his relative or it's him, and he lives for a very long time. No one's too sure. But his relative is the one who defends Kirk and Bones against the entire Klingon council who's in the wrong. So Worf is just a good guy through and through.
Time. All right. We'll go over to Tim. 1 minute for your opening time begins when you start talking.
I'm confused as to why we're talking about Worf's relative from a movie that isn't Next Generation to support your Next Generation argument. That's interesting. No, I'm going with Riker. A great character. Becomes a captain. Has a great spot in all 4 of the Next Generation movies. Picard's right-hand man. The question is, who's the best character besides Data and Picard? It's got to be Riker. Worf is this guy who just doesn't. he's there as kind of like, honestly, by the end of the series, like this comedic relief guy, whether you like the movies or not, which I don't. Riker actually has shit to do in these movies. He actually does stuff in every single movie and influences the outcome of each movie, influences the characters in a positive way, and by the end gets his own ship, gets to become a captain, gets to walk off with his lady friend. No more Tom Hardy in their sex dreams. It's a beautiful time. Right?
Time. All right, so we will go ahead and get into Freeform when you guys start talking.
Real quick, I was bringing it up because if it's his relative, it shows the lineage of Worf as a great character, but we don't have to talk about that.
Okay.
The point is, he doesn't do it. What does he do in Insurrection? What does Riker do in Insurrection? Nothing. He turns into a young boy who's horny for Deanna Troi. And
what does Worf do? Have a zit?
Worf literally he acts out the mission while going through puberty. Can you imagine having to do that? Going through puberty while being a lieutenant commander in the USS in the Federation? I can't imagine that. But Worf could do it. Worf's the only one who could do it because he's so true to himself, and he's so strong-willed. My favorite scene in honestly all of Star Trek. Like I thought about it. This is my favorite scene in all of Star Trek. In First Contact, when Picard is calling Worf a coward, and he stands there and he says, "If you were any other man, I would kill you where you stand." Because he's such a badass character, but he's also so loyal. And he's showing the stereotype against Klingons that they can't behave like that in the Federation, or they haven't been for the past 60 years. And he comes and he rises through the ranks faster than Riker, by the way, and comes in and has that great scene with Picard.
But we don't see any of that in the movies. Everything you just talked about, him rising through the ranks and everything, we don't see that in the movie. The first time we see him in Generations, he's getting a promotion. That's true, but that's based off of things that happened in the TV show, not in the movies. We don't get to see that journey for him. And that other moment you just talked about with him and Picard, that actually shows more good things about Picard. The fact that Picard is, if you were any other man, I would kill you or punch you or whatever he says. That shows more about how great of a captain Picard is, not really how great of a character Worf is. And the fact that even in that movie, Worf has his own ship, or he's on it. Yeah, I believe he's the captain of the other ship. And he can't even get that mission done. He has to get saved by Picard and Riker and the rest of the Enterprise crew. He has to get saved by them because he can't handle the Borg. And he gets saved and taken away. He doesn't do anything in these movies. Riker actually does things. In that same movie, First Contact, he's actually on the ground with is it Zephram Cochrane?
Yeah,
something I don't fucking know. Yeah. Woo! Trivia. He's actually on the ground with him, doing things, actually doing stuff. Worf is just kind of there as like oh look, it's the Klingon because Klingons are cool and we can have this story. Riker has a story throughout the series of movies.
He's doing nothing that Geordi LaForge and Deanna Troi aren't doing on the ground. They're just trying to get Zephram Cochrane to stop drinking. That's literally all they're doing throughout First Contact.
And
Worf is literally ready to die for the Federation. He literally says, prepare for ramming speed before Picard comes and saves him. Riker's not doing anything in these movies. He's literally distracted the entirety of Insurrection. And then he gets married at the beginning of Nemesis. And then he's literally like, okay, bye. And you're telling me because we don't see Worf rise through the ranks that happens in the TV show, Riker doesn't become a captain in the movies. He becomes a captain at the end, and we don't get to see what happens after that. The fact is the character that is set up is clearly getting a promotion because of the way he's acted in Valor. So we know that about him from the outset. We know that he's deserving of promotions. He's the first person to jump and get the hat. He's breaking bounds everywhere.
I don't disagree with you that he's deserving of the promotion, but you said in your argument he is a person who did this, and this, but we don't see that in the movies. And the question is, who other than those two, who is the best in these movies? And if we don't see that journey that makes this character as great as you said, it doesn't work for me. Whereas Riker, we see the journey that gets him to captain. Just because we don't see him as captain, it's actually kind of the opposite of Worf, where we actually get to see why he gets to become a captain, because he is this great first guy to Picard. He's this great officer for Picard, this right-hand man. He's a great husband to his wife in Nemesis. He's an all-around great person, so we understand why he gets to be captain. We don't really understand why Worf gets to be this great character he is, because we didn't see it.
But we do understand. We understand in the interaction. Picard is not. I don't know what you're talking about with Picard in that scene, because he's literally saying we're not going to blow up the ship, and he's being stubborn. Worf is being the great character and telling his captain and challenging his captain, his superior, hey, this is the right thing to do. And Picard actually shows a lot of immaturity in calling him a coward, and Worf shows a lot of maturity and strength. That's why he's getting promoted. We know why he's getting promoted, because he's that great of a character. He's the person who will literally ignore the fact that he's re-going through puberty to help accomplish this mission in Insurrection. Riker, I haven't heard one thing he's done tangibly. Worf, at least in First Contact, he's on the outside. He's on the outside of the ship with gravity boots. His suit gets torn, and then he defeats the Borg in hand-to-hand combat and ties off his spacesuit so that he can release the dish.
I already said that Riker is down on the ground with Zephram, helping him make the first contact. If he's not there, it doesn't happen.
Time. All right. We will go to closings. We start with Tim on this one. 1 minute. Time begins when you start talking.
Riker's on the ground, helping make the first contact happen. If he's not there, everything gets destroyed. They're stuck in that time. Star Trek doesn't happen. Your precious Star Trek does not happen without Riker on the ground. He's a great husband to his wife, who, when she's having these insane visions of being taken over by Tom Hardy in her mind, he's there for her, helping her. He stays on the ship with Picard and crew when he's supposed to be going off on his honeymoon. He was supposed to be done. But he stays and helps his captain and his entire crew, which is why we get to see him become such a great captain. Worf, going through puberty, hilarious. He has a zit. Ooh, it's funny. You knew it for 2 points. I'm proud of you. I love you, but it's dumb. Worf doesn't do anything in these movies that warrants him being the best character. He's not a bad character, don't get me wrong, but he is not the best up against Riker. Not by a long shot.
Time. All right, we're going to go to Nick. 1 minute for your closing. Time begins when you start talking.
Worf is by far the best. In that one instance where he's on the ground that you keep bringing up, he does no more than Geordi LaForge and Deanna Troi. They accomplished the same thing. They could have done it without Riker. The fact is, Worf is on the ship, defeating the Borg hand to hand. He's the one who stands up for himself, and he stands up for what's best of the crew. He's the man who's willing to die by ramming his ship that he's the captain of when there's no other hope, in a last-ditch effort to destroy the Borg. He is the one who is willing to sacrifice his own life for the greater of everyone else. And you have to realize, it's a federation that for a very long time saw his race of people as evil. He's doing it despite all that, to show that he's such a good character, to show that his race is more than just the villains they've been in the past. Riker literally, so while Worf is going through puberty, Riker's becoming a horny little person who's not even doing his job because he's busy flirting with the counselor in the counselor's office. Riker doesn't do anything tangible in the movies. He's just always behind Picard. He's not ever doing anything. Worf does these tangible things in progress.
All right. This has been another barn burner. Hey, judges.
Give me a second.
Okay. Yeah, this was a good one. I will say I have never seen two more impassioned closings this year, and I love it. I thought Tim was gonna end his with "Give me liberty or give me death," and I was like, "All right." Y'all were into it. I like it. All right, we will start with Douche.
All right. I'm giving my point to Nick this round. I think Nick fought really hard to prove why Worf was so important to the film series as a whole, to hold up against Picard and the other person. I didn't remember that part of the question. But listening to the argument, I think Nick kind of pushed it forward and kind of countered a lot of the things that Tim said when it came down to why Worf was just a little bit better than Riker.
All right, Boatman.
I'm giving it to TWOHIG, but this was such a back and forth fight. I feel like every time somebody made an argument, that argument was just completely rejected. So it's kind of, it was very hard. But for me, TWOHIG just kind of eked it out there at the very last second with the shutdown of the Riker. But overall, fantastic fight.
I also would have gone with Nick. It was a very, very, very tight fight. Again, I have never seen two more impassioned closings in my life, and it was fun. So we are all tied up 2-2. going into the last prep round fight, which means we will be seeing at least one speed round question today. Your final prep round fight was drafted by the champion himself, Mr. Timothy Brzakala. Your question comes from the lovely world of Pixar. And which Pixar world would you most want to visit? Which Pixar world would you most want to visit? Tim, you will be going first on this one. Time begins when you start speaking.
There's a lot of different options we could have gone with here. I think both of us chose arguably the correct answers. When I want to go to a Pixar world, I want to feel something familiar while also being different. I think the world of Monsters, Inc., Monsters University, is the perfect place to do that. If I am just going into the monster world, into Monstropolis, as a person, I'm me. The monsters don't really know that I'm there. Like they interact with me, but I'm a human. I think there's a lot of fun stuff. You could see the different variants of all of the things you have in the world, like the monster jobs or the Harryhausens, the places, the schools like Monsters University, and see how the monsters work in their world. It's a fun, exciting place where there's monster games and monster truck rallies and stuff like that, but also places where you can hang out with friends and have fun. I think it's an interesting, cool world.
Time. All right. We will go over to Nick. 1 minute for your opening. Time begins when you start talking.
I won't hang my hat on this, but I think monster truck rallies might be from Cars. But anyway, I picked what I think is the best choice for very selfish reasons, and I challenge anyone to say that they wouldn't choose this for the same reasons. I picked Coco because the unique thing that Coco allows you to do is to go back and visit loved ones who have passed on. Miguel, who is just a regular human, just like I would be in the world of Coco, gets the opportunity to go to the land of the dead and see his relatives. I think that is the most unique and the most cool experience, to be able to go back and talk to your grandparents, to your great-grandparents, to your friend who died too early. I think that would be the coolest world to visit because you get that sentimental closure that you might not have had. And I honestly think anyone who's saying they wouldn't take the opportunity for one day to go and visit their loved ones who have passed on is lying to you. I have some issues with the Monsters, Inc. choice, or the Monsters, Inc. and University, and we'll get to that.
Time. All right. So 5 minutes prep round debate. Have at it.
It's funny because monster truck, it's like a monster truck, but then it isn't from Monsters, Inc. That being said, I don't disagree with you that it would be cool to do that, but what I'm thinking is for like anybody, and myself included, the question's asking about us, but you also have to think about the world at large. The Coco world is cool. It's basically the same thing we have here on Earth, just the underworld inverted Pixar version. If you don't have that family to go back to, what's the point? There is no point. As you can see in the movie, there are characters who don't have their picture on the ofrenda that can't go back, can't see their family. And the world is honestly, they say that it's like fun and they could still have fun with each other, these nobodies. But in the end, they just die alone anyway. That's upsetting if you don't have this family to go back to, which is a lot of people. I don't think it's a very interesting world to necessarily go back to. Whereas the monster world, anybody can go, anybody can have a good time, including myself, and see the different variants of our world and compare and contrast and see how kind of fun that world is. Whereas Coco could leave you more depressed and sad than anything.
Everyone has family. Even if they're not related, everyone has people that have passed on that they would love to see again. Just make sure we're talking about the same thing. I'm talking about going into the world and being able to visit the land of the dead. So I wasn't sure if you were talking about just being able to stay in the human world. So being able to visit those people, yes, it's sad. Death is sad, but the point is everyone would take the opportunity to get that closure, to get that one last experience with their loved ones who have passed on. The monsters world, well, you said it. It's our world, but they're monsters. Even in the monsters movies, they make it a point to be like, hey, we might look funny, but we act exactly the same as you. And if we're talking about the majority of the monsters movies, they're going to be afraid of you, and they're going to run away because they're going to think you're toxic.
That's not what the question. That's not what they said in the question, though. Is like, if we're just in the world looking around, it doesn't affect the fact that I'm a human in the world.
Oh, that's not what I thought. But
maybe we should get clarification, because that's what I was under the impression of. And that's why I think the monster world would be interesting for me to go in, look at the way they do these different things that we do, but differently. The spins that they have on it would be incredibly fun to be a part of, and to see the different monsters and everything in the world, I think would be incredibly interesting. Whereas Coco, it's, again, I don't disagree with you that going to see family and having that moment would be nice, but then what's beyond that? Especially for the people who don't have that. And you say everybody has family. I don't disagree with you, but at a certain point, there are people out there who don't and wouldn't benefit from this type of world. Once you get beyond the, oh, you're my great-great-grandmother that I never met, what's the point of going there? Miguel wants to get out of there as soon as possible to go back to make sure that his people are remembered, for sure. But he doesn't need to go back to visit this world. The monster world is a world we could continuously go to and have fun in.
Miguel gets that one. We're talking about one day in the world, and let's use your premise. Let's say we don't even get to interact. I would still love the opportunity to get to see what these ones who have passed on are doing. Everyone's got that, and if you don't have that, I'm very sorry. I feel for you. At the very least, you get to go to a fun musical world with festivals and things like that. The monsters world, you're going to get bored after 3 seconds of being like, okay, there's a monster. Okay, everyone looks different, but they're doing the same thing. They're living in an energy crisis for most of the time. And it's not as interesting. Once you get over the fact that, okay, these creatures look different from me, there's nothing left to be interested in.
But the same thing could be said about Coco.
But who's going to get over the fact that, like, holy crap, there's my grandfather who I just buried last year.
1 minute.
And this is what he's doing now. Like that's a much more sentimental, it's a much more personal thing. I think it would apply to most people that there is someone in the afterlife right now living that they would benefit from going back to and seeing how they're doing. There is some closure that can be had there.
I think that both worlds have a lot of the same things we can get on Earth. You pitched even if you don't have the family to go to, you get to see this great musical festival experience. I can do that in the monster world as well, with probably a more interesting look at what monsters and music look like. That's way more interesting than just seeing the same thing with the same people that I've already heard. You know what I mean? Like, I think that the monster world they're both very similar to the places we are now. Mm-hmm. But the monsters world is different enough and has a variation on everything that would make it an enjoyable one-day visit, as you said. Whereas Coco, you say hi to your people and you're
time. All right, so we're going to get to closing arguments, starting with Nick. 1 minute, time begins when you start talking.
You say there's a twist, but they drive cars, they go to work, they go to college. It's all very, very similar. It gets old, and it's on it. It's the point of going to the world of Coco is not to, like, it's not the same thing you're pitching for Monsters, Inc. What I'm pitching is a meaningful connection for one day back with the people you miss and you love. I think anybody would take that. I think whoever wouldn't take that is lying. Even if you don't even get to interact, even if you just get to see, this is where my grandparents ended up, I am content. This day was worth it. Going to the Monsters world over this world, Monsters world would be fun. I'm going to give you that. But over this world, you'd be like, okay, cool. He's driving a car and it has 6 tires instead of 4. He's a monster. He has 1 eye instead of 2. It's like, it's not really a comparison to me. The Monsters world is the same, except they look like monsters. I don't know what other sort of things you can get out of that. We don't see any musical things in the Monsters world. We don't get to see all these things you're pitching. But in Coco, at least you get to say goodbye to them.
All right, so we go over to Tim. 1 minute for your closing. Time begins when you start talking.
We might not necessarily see them in the movie, but the point is that we have enough information about this world that if we were to go there, we know it exists. We know we would get to be a part of it. The other thing that you're saying about this meaningful experience, the whole point of the movie Coco is that if the pictures of your family are on the ofrenda, they are with you on that day. They are with you on the Day of the Dead. They come out and they spend the time with you. You might not physically see them and get to hug them and be with them like Miguel does. But the whole point of that movie is that you are supposed to have a meaningful connection with those people you have lost. every year at the same time, you don't necessarily need to go into that world to get what you're pitching. Whereas the Monster World, yes, it is. I'm not denying that it's a lot of the same here. But I think it's different enough that there are things that you could go and have an amazing time looking at all the different things, exploring the world. Whereas Coco, you wouldn't get that.
All right. Oh boy. Oh boy. In the words of Cameron Holston, one more time. Oh boy. All right. Judges, we have our votes. I shall go first. I'm going with Tim. I think Tim did a good job of taking down the Coco approach, especially at the end there by saying you can get what 2H's pitching without going into the Coco world. I think that was a really good hit, and he defended the Monsters universe pretty well for me. So I'm leaning slightly towards Tim in a tough one. Boat, where are you going?
I'm also giving the point to Tim. I think that kind of for the similar reasons that you said, I think Tim really hit on 2H's argument really well in a lot of the points.
All right, Doug, where would you have leaned?
I went with Nick because I think everybody wants to go and see their, anybody that they lost. And I think that was a really great point. I think at the end of the fight, Tim started to bash back, but it was like, it's the end of the fight you hit with that argument. For me, that's kind of a null and void if a person can't rebuttal it.
Fair. All right. So with that, Tim is in the lead. 3-2. As we go to the first speed round debate question. Your first speed round question. The way this is going to work is, remind me, is it 35 and 15 or is it 45 and 15?
I thought it was 40 and
45, 30.
45, 30. Okay.
45, 30. Yeah.
All right. There we go. 45 and 30 seconds for opening and closing. Whoever answers first will get it first. I'm going to read the question twice, and then you can answer. So your first speed round question is coming to you from the broad realm of comedy. What
could be remade? What?
Actually, fuck! I forgot to make that joke in Star Trek. Anyway, what is the best comedy of the 2000s? What is the best comedy of the 2000s?
Step Brothers.
All right.
Curious what the other one was, because that was one of mine.
I'm not going to tell you.
Why not? No. My answer is Mean Girls.
Ooh, that was not what I was going to say.
It wasn't me either, but that's okay.
So we have Step Brothers versus Mean Girls. Tim, you spoke first, so you will go first. 45 seconds when you start talking.
Step Brothers is a comedy that has absolutely transcended its purpose. Its purpose was to be, hi, we're a stupid Will Ferrell comedy, but it has become so much more than that. It is a movie that everyone quotes, everyone talks about. I believe Nick even debated it as being the most quotable Will Ferrell comedy of all time. It's a movie that you fall in love with the characters immediately. Everybody from John C. Reilly and Will Ferrell to Will Ferrell's dick brother to the parents to even the therapist at the end. All the characters you love, you quote it so much. And it's a movie that came right at the end of the 2000s and kind of encapsulated everything great about comedy in the 2000s. It's a hilarious movie. Mean Girls is just this movie that a lot of it started out really small. A lot of people just haven't really seen it. And it's kind of later become a great thing, but it wasn't great in the 2000s. It's later become that.
All right. Nick, 45 seconds for your opening when you start talking.
Okay. That didn't count. I was saying okay. Whether it became great later or then is moot. The point is, it's the greatest comedy of the 2000s. Mean Girls is a very well-written movie by Tina Fey, very well acted by Lindsay Lohan and Rachel McAdams. You get a classic villain in Rachel McAdams and Regina George. You say no one's seen it? Everybody has seen this movie, and everyone can quote it. I would argue it's even more quotable. She doesn't even go here. That's my cousin pulled that up as a prank on me once. But Mean Girls is way more funny. There's way more interactions between the main characters. The fact is, the the comedy in Step Brothers is just it's random lines being said. It's characters acting outlandishly because they have to, because they're in a comedy. And the fact is, Mean Girls is in a world that's set up that you actually believe, and the comedy ensues from these situations with all these relatable characters. No matter what age or gender you are, you went through high school and you knew people.
All right, 30 seconds for Tim when you start talking.
I think you pitched a better coming-of-age movie, a 2000s coming-of-age movie. And yes, it's acted well, it's written well, it's directed well. But again, as far as straight comedy goes, Step Brothers hits on everything, from the performances to the directing by Adam McKay. All the jokes hit. They are all very funny. There's so many lines in it. You named one from Mean Girls, but it's okay that mine's not movie quality. The last time I heard that, I almost fell with my dinosaur. I think I'm going to throw up. There's so many. You're going to eat white dog shit. There's so many funny moments in this. Mean Girls, eh.
All right, Nick, 30 seconds before you start talking.
Step Brothers only has one thing, it gets really old. There's actually parts of that movie that even the diehard fans of it don't like. They really don't like the relationship between John C. Reilly and the brother's wife character. They really don't like that. There's a lot of it's the same. It's the same the whole movie. As we said in Creature from the Black Lagoon, movies can be more than one thing. So it's a great coming-of-age movie, but it's also hilarious. There's hilarious interactions. The character arc of Lindsay Lohan's character of Katie is amazing. We get to see that arc, and there's comedic moments along the way that we all can relate to. It's very funny. It's very well written. It's very well acted by everyone.
All right. We will bring the judges back. Oh boy. This is a tough one. Judges, do we have our votes? All right. We will start with Doug. I believe you are muted, sir.
Y'all saw it. I went Nick. I think he argued for best comedy, not most quotable comedy. I think he hit back your line about the lines being it's very single comedy, and like Mean Girls has layers to the comedy. Trying to keep it short. Sorry.
All right. I'm leaning towards Tim. I think Tim sold me a little bit more on why Step Brothers is a little bit funnier overall, and that Mean Girls might have worked in 2004. Not totally. I thought his argument worked cooked better. Boatman.
For me, it's TWOHIG. I hate that I'm in the position where I have to choose between where I'm the deciding vote. But yeah, I think overall, TWOHIG hit on why Mean Girls has transcended the argument, whereas I think Tim's argument about, it was then, it wasn't then, but it is now, I think that was a moot point, and I think it was really good for TWOHIG to hit on that. I keep mixing up their names. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
All right, so we are all tied up 3-3, which means it comes down to this. Your final speed round question. We end on Fandom for the two Fandom showrunners in the world of DC. And your question comes to you as thus. What is the best non-Joker Batman villain performance? What is the best non-Joker Batman villain performance?
Wow, I can't believe I'm going to ask this, but Catwoman a villain?
Yes, we're gonna say Catwoman is a villain for the purposes of the Batman canon of DC.
Michelle Pfeiffer as Catwoman.
I love that this all came full circle to me having to say out loud.
Then I will go with Liam Neeson as Ra's al Ghul.
So right. She's not an anti-hero, and is he a man in black?
All right. All right. TWOHIG spoke first. He will go first. 45 seconds for Catwoman when you start talking.
Michelle Pfeiffer is the better performance because it's a layered performance and it actually shows multiple parts of a character, which is a lot harder to do than a singular performance. That's very similar to what the actor does all the time. Michelle Pfeiffer plays this very shy girl at the beginning who becomes this very confident, very creative villain who knows that like her mask is who she was before. And you feel that. And honestly, her performance fits the world that Tim Burton created. That's the best part of it. Liam Neeson's is just straight as an arrow. It's Liam Neeson giving monologues, which is what he does his whole career. He's very good at it, but it doesn't make for the best performance for a villain. He shows he's his friend at the beginning, and he shows his villain at the end. But the fact is, he plays it the same the whole time. It's not as good as a performance as the levels, the dynamic levels of
time. All right, Tim. 45 seconds for Ra's al Ghul when you start talking.
The best part about a villain is transformation, and you get that. You see him as a friend, a guy who's training Bruce, trying to get him to join this league, and ultimately he decides not to. Saves his life, and then Ra's still comes back to take over Gotham to stop him. It even goes so far as he even haunts Bruce in Dark Knight Rises past the point of his death. He sees visions of him talking to him about his child. And Catwoman is just this over-the-top meow thing that Michelle Pfeiffer's doing in a Tim Burton movie. The movie's goofy, and she is goofy on top of it. You say it fits for the world that Tim Burton made, but it doesn't. It's so over-the-top, it doesn't even fit alongside Penguin and...
All right, 30 seconds, Nick. Timing is where you start talking.
Penguin is way more over the top. It definitely fits within the world. You say the best things of transformation. She literally transforms from this shy person to this confident villain. It's one of the coolest transformations to see because Michelle Pfeiffer plays it so well. The transformation you're talking about with Liam Neeson, that's because of Bruce Wayne. That's because of Christian Bale, how he reacts differently to him. But the fact is, the performance at the end of the day is just Liam Neeson doing what he always does, standing there, being a menacing presence, and giving some monologues. There's nothing different about his performance from when he's a friend to when he's a foe. Selena Kyle does show that difference, and she's a likable character.
All right, Tim, 30 seconds for your closing when you start talking.
You don't see the transformation with Selena either. She falls out, she gets pushed out of a window and dies, and all of a sudden she's this over-the-top crazy villain. There's no transformation there either. At least with Liam Neeson, you do see the transformation because, Bruce, please do this. This was what has to be done to save Gotham, to save and have justice. And then all of a sudden, by the end of the movie, is this man who's willing to kill Bruce, burn down his mansion, and take over the city that Bruce has fought so hard to take. And it's not just him monologuing, it's Liam Neeson giving one of the best performances of his career.
All right, what a way to end this one, because now my head hurts because I don't know how to go. Wow. This is a very, 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 very good fight to end on. Wow.
They picked a character in Batman that is just nothing but remakes.
That was good. I can't follow you. Okay, I'm ready. Boatman, where are you leaning away?
I'm giving the point to TWOHIG. I think TWOHIG, they both kind of hit on the transformation argument, so that was kind of moot to me. But I think TWOHIG hit more on Ra's al Ghul kind of being the same performance-wise despite the transformation of the character.
All right, I'll go next. I'm leaning Tim. I think Tim sold me a little bit more on why Ra's al Ghul is different by telling me how that transformation, that arc really went, and also hit why Pfeiffer's performance is just kind of Pfeiffer being weird. And TWOHIG never really defended that fully. So I'm leaning slightly towards Tim. Doug, comes down to you.
Yay. I get the deciding factor. I did go with Tim. I think Tim gave the legacy of a villain, which is a real important thing to me, and I didn't hear TWOHIG bash it. How Liam, the performance, and it kind of captivated and haunted Bruce through his entire life. Kind of, that's the villain that you kind of want. And I think Tim did a really good job on that.
So with that, your winner and still Fanzone debate champion of the world, Tim the Hulk Brzakala. What a match. This was actually a really, really great debate all the way through. I actually put this up as maybe the best debate we've ever had. It's up there. We'll start with our winner, Tim. You pulled out the win today. Very tight 4-3 victory in sudden death. How do you feel?
I thought I won the stepbrother Mean Girls thing, and then I thought he won the Roz Catwoman thing. So that was a roller coaster of emotions. If there's one thing I've proven today, I can't beat Robert Parker at trivia. I can't beat Nick Twohig at trivia, but I can barely escape a debate. Yeah, buddy. That is what I have learned today. No, this was really fun. Like I said at the beginning, if I had lost, it would have been fine. I've defended this thing now 3 times. If I had lost, it would have been fine. I would have been happy to see Nick take it and play again later this season. But I'm happy I won, and I get to play one more time at the end of this season before the season's over. That'll be very fun. But yeah, that was oof. I've never yelled so much about Star Trek in my life.
This is very true. I have never seen someone speak so impassionedly about
Something they hate.
something they hate, or also Worf and Riker. Both of you screaming slut and puberty over the course of 5 minutes was pretty insane. We'll go over to our challenger today, Nick. You fought your ass off, played a great debate. How do you feel?
I am tired. That was fun. It was a good time. Like Tim, there were arguments I thought I won, and there were others that I thought I lost that wound up being the reverse. But that's just the name of the game. Tim is very, very good at this. Clearly, I would argue the best, even with someone sitting backstage. But because
double birds being flipped by an unknown assailant backstage.
However, it was really fun. It was really exhausting. I surprised myself in many ways. Like I said, literally every match I played, I've been like, okay, I'll lose this one. It's fine. Because the people I've been playing against are just so good. And Tim is the best. He proved that today.
Now that you've broken the 0 into a 1, is there anyone you'd like to play to try and get back to this position?
Okay, Cody's not mad at me anymore.
He's telling you to bring it. He's telling you to bring it.
On what is next for Nick Twohig now? Is that okay?
That was the question.
Wait, let me pick a person I think I would want to play. Kaleb Koho. Fun time.
I don't want to do that. I'll be honest, I don't want to do that.
It could happen.
It could happen, but I don't want it. Yes, Mr. Brzakala.
Yeah, no, so now we have another tournament, or not a tournament, but just a small mini little title picture of some people from late last year, early this year that haven't gotten to play in a while. They're going to play. We have some play-in matches, and then the first half of next season is going to be a big 16-person tournament. I believe everyone on this call will be in that tournament, so that'll be very exciting. So you very well could match up with Mr. Koho in that tournament.
Yeah, kill me. All right, we'll go over to our other judges. Thank you so much, both of you, for joining me. Doug, final thoughts on this one before we send it home?
No, it's an excellent match. I got nervous to judge this match. I don't want anybody mad at me. I like everybody on this call. I like everybody on this call. Please like me.
Boatman, final thoughts on this one before we wrap it up.
I was nervous about this match, not really because of the people in it, but because of previous title matches I have judged, and I was still nervous, but this was a good time.
Absolutely. I said it at the beginning. I've said it now. I think this will go down as the best debate in Fanzone history. Both these guys absolutely killed it. I will never get the impassioned closings of the Star Trek out of my head from either of you, involving the words, he did it through having puberty. Yeah, this was a great fight. One for the ages. But for everyone here, this has been Fanzone. That has been Tim. That has been Nick. That has been Doug. That has been Boat. I'm pointing the wrong way. I'm Caleb. This is Fandom Fights. Not Fandom Fights, Fanzone. And we'll see you guys real soon with another great match.
Michelob Ultra Tuscan Orange Grapefruit. My God, America is imploding.